Hi guys, so this is the second part. This is phase two, and it says, as you can see, animal adaptation phase two. The year is now 2120 or 2120. It is 50 years after the first adaptation, and this is 100 years from now. So, what we're assuming is that our animal, which had adapted to its biome and the changes in its biome due to global warming or climate change, is now in a position where actually it can not that it can no longer survive there, but maybe some of the animals have had to move to a new biome and in order to survive, because it can no longer support the number of creatures or animals it had before. So some of our animals, or maybe the entirety of our animal species, in this case, the spiked climbing turtle, are having to move to a completely new biome. Now, in this case, I thought, well, actually, maybe some of them could have moved to the desert environment. Okay, so they've moved from tropical rainforest to desert. It doesn't make much sense for them to move the tundra because the tundra is probably the Arctic tundra is probably going to be pretty much gone at this point anyway, or will look very, very different. So in this case, what I would assume is after the rainforest has been removed or is being reduced, it's probably more likely that the desert is going to be a place which is going to appear more often. There's going to be more desertification. So it's moved to the desert biome. So I'm going to have to find out a bit more about the desert, and that will help me, okay, to better understand how my animal will adapt. So 100 years after, okay, so let's have a look at what I did. So I read through this, I watched the videos, okay, and I was looking mainly at these challenges, obviously, as well, or quite often the challenge, how will it stay cool? What will it eat? Okay, how will it find water? These were key points for me. And then what I did is I went to my animal adaptation report and I went to the second part, which is here, phase two. And it's exactly the same structural, behavior, and physiological. What will it look like? Or what will this look like? How will this be effective? So, this is what I came up with. So, structural, the spikes covering, and remember, I am referring back to Mr. Musgrave's creature here again, and what I've learned about this particular environment. So, okay, structural. What will this look like? The spikes covering its back are less thick and sharp. Well, I've said that's exactly what will happen. They're not going to be as thick and sharp. And the reason being a lot of the case, because to be quite honest, there aren't going to be the predators around in the desert. It's just not going to have as many predators. This reduces the weight of the shell as well. That's what I'm thinking. So it can move more quickly to get out of the sunshine and hot temperatures. It's going to have to move a little faster. Having a really heavy shell is going to tax it, really make it difficult for the animal to move effectively in the desert. So it's going to have less thick and sharp spikes, but the spikes will still be there. They're not going to disappear over the time, but they're going to be maybe reduced in size. Behavioral, okay. Mainly it moves around at night. It has become more nocturnal. So this is an easy change for it to make, I think. Now, it still will be around during the day, but maybe what has happened is maybe it comes out sort of the last few hours of the day when it's cooler and then into the night. So it becomes more nocturnal in terms of the way that it is actually behaving. And the reason for this is it mainly moves around night so that it can avoid the very hot temperatures of the day because it's very hot in the desert and it doesn't really want to be around during daylight hours. Physiological. So the turtle now eats insects as well as fish. Now, this had to be a change, I think, in its own body, something that's going to have to get used to. So there are less freshwater fish for it to feed on, so there aren't many water sources. So its body has adapted to eat insects as well as fish. In fact, by now it may almost completely eat insects, and they have replaced what fish provided before. So its diet has had to alter. Now you may say, well, oh, that's drastic, isn't it? Would it be able to adapt that quickly? I don't know. I think over 100 years, potentially, it's a possibility that it could do that. But that's my physiological change. Right. So it's your turn now to complete your animal adaptations. Please have a go and fill out that table. Remember, though, to look back at the alternative biomes. I'll be honest, none of you really should be looking at the Arctic tundra because by now there's going to be little to none of that, I would imagine. And it doesn't make sense for the tropical rainforest animals to move to the Arctic tundra. Likewise, it doesn't make any sense for the hot desert animals to move to the Arctic tundra. You may be thinking with a hot desert, well, where would they move to? Well, you might be thinking, well, actually, the hot desert might then they may move to cooler climates. Like they might move actually to areas where there is some rainforest, and they become almost an invasive species. Okay, they'd invade that area and have to compete with what animals are already there. Okay, so you need to think very carefully about that, but I'm sure you will do a fantastic job. When you completed that activity, can you please hand in your assignment or make sure that at least it's all completed? Thank you very much indeed.